most physicians, family docs, and I think OBGYNs and most researchers, if you ask them, does the birth control pill increase the risk of breast cancer? They go back to a study which was a pooled analysis. It's all the world studies done in 1996. And it took 54 studies, 53,000 women, 25 countries. And they basically said, this is their conclusion. Women who are currently using combined oral contraceptives or have used them in the past 10 years are at a slightly increased risk of having breast cancer diagnosed, although the additional cancers tend to be localized to the breast. So what does that mean? That means if you took the birth control pill from age 15 to 25, your doctor could say to you, looking at this and saying, if you stop the birth control pill now, you'll have a slightly increased risk until the age of 35, and then your risk is the same as everyone else. So most people think, well, there's not much risk of breast cancer when you're young. It's not really a high risk. But this is really unfair because of several reasons. One is there are a lot of defects in this study. And without going into too much detail, if you look at bullet number 5, 2/3 of the women in this Oxford pooled analysis were over age 45. So probably half their women were menopausal. So you're studying the effect of a birth control pill sometimes in a woman who's 80 years old who probably hasn't even heard of the birth control pill, never even took the birth control pill. Some of these studies were in the 1980s and 90s. So unfortunately, this study focused a lot on older women, and they used older studies, and they really didn't look at the risk of the birth control pill in young women, because today, most young women take the birth control pill. Do you think they take it before pregnancy or after pregnancy? What would you say? Anybody can answer? Before. Yeah, everybody's taking it before. And when it came out in the 1960s and 70s, women tended to take it for maybe a year or two after they had a couple of children, where today they could be on it 5, 10, 15, 20 years before they even had kids. And the time before you have pregnancy, before you become pregnant, is the most vulnerable time of the breast. So this study really couldn't pick up the risk of the birth control pill.
Stand back for a little bit.
Am I too close?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So it had a lot of problems. So let's look at the evidence. There are two pieces of important news, and one is that the World Health Organization classified oral contraceptives as a Group 1 carcinogen. A Group 1 carcinogen is the most dangerous type of carcinogen, and the World Health Organization is certainly not pro-life, so they're saying it's a dangerous hormone. The second thing is the studies from today. What did the study show? Well, after many years of research, we published what's called a meta-analysis, a grouping of all the studies in the world in 2006, so a more recent study than the Oxford pooled analysis. And the Mayo Clinic Proceeding is one of the top journals in the world. So in order to get into this type of journal, it has to be peer-reviewed, and this is such a controversial topic that it would have not have gotten in unless it was an accurate study. So we published this study with the grace of God, because it was definitely a miracle to get in. And here's the title: Oral Contraceptive Use as a Risk Factor for Premenopausal Breast Cancer. And what do the studies show? There are two slides. Here's one of them, and then the next will follow. And you can look at those numbers. Can you see the percentages from the back? Okay. So you can see that most of those studies are positive. If someone told you, well, these are the studies from smoking and lung cancer, you probably wouldn't be shocked. But if someone says, these are the studies from the birth control pill and breast cancer, the young ladies, I work with a lot of nurses, and they're very surprised when they hear this. And so here's the second slide. And you can see there are 21 out of 23 studies show an increased risk. And the only 2 that are in red are a small decrease. So if you pull that all together, statistically, you'll find it comes to a 44% increased risk. And this was statistically significant at the 99% confidence interval, which is, it's a higher degree of certainty than most papers will publish. And just graph form, I once showed this slide to a group of lawyers, and this particular lawyer was from the South. And after I gave my presentation to this lawyer, he sat back in his chair and he goes, "Doctor, that's a lot of blue." And, unfortunately, I don't know what it will take for women to hear about this, but it may end up a lawsuit because the media and the medical establishment are not doing their job, and nobody's heard of this stuff. As Steve said, this information is in flyer form. That graph I showed you right there is in One More Soul's flyer. We also have a research site called the Polycarp Research Institute. If anybody would like an actual copy of the Mayo Clinic paper, it's right up there. The Mayo Clinic puts their papers for public use, so there's a link to it. And just our study came out in 2006. There has been a couple of other studies, but one of them by a woman named Lynn Rosenberg from, I think she's from Boston. She found about a 60% increased risk in women who took the pill before age 50. So that kind of goes along with our 44% number. And one of the papers we're working on now, which I think is going to be pretty significant, is an estimation of how many women are getting the pill due to the birth control pill before age 50 every year. And the number we're coming up with right now is just probably about 6,000 women, a very conservative estimate. And people, again, they say that breast cancer is infrequent in women under 50. But if 6,000 of these women could be prevented from getting breast cancer, 6,000 out of 50,000, because 50,000 women get breast cancer every year under age 50. So that's 12% of breast cancer that could be avoided in women under age 50. I don't know what the problem is, but some people seem to feel that this is not a significant number, but it certainly is if it's your friend, if it's your sister. My sister has breast cancer. If your cousin, or if it's your daughter or your mom, if they're one of those 6,000, there could be nothing more important. So the bottom line, oral contraceptives, especially when used before first-term pregnancy, increase the risk of breast cancer. And unfortunately, as of today, almost no women, almost no medical professionals have ever heard of this risk. And you're probably the few in this room, you know more than people in the New York Times. And that's I'm not kidding about that. That the day after the study came out, I received a call from the Mayo Clinic, and they said the New York Times, I think they said NBC would be calling me the next day. So I became rather nervous. And my wife said, "You don't need to be nervous. They're never going to call you." And she's smarter than I am. She's right. They just buried the whole thing, which means they read the study, they knew it was a good study, because otherwise they would have critiqued it, and they decided to just bury the study. So all of the major media have basically found this too controversial of an area, which is one of the few preventable risks of breast cancer, which is pretty sad. And the flyer and the book are in the back, and I guess we'll have questions later, or?
Questions now.
Have questions now?
For questions.
Yeah, I'm ready for questions.